The May 1968 uprising in France was a monumental moment in modern history, a complex and multifaceted upheaval that shook the very core of French society, politics, and culture. It was a time when the voices of students, workers, intellectuals, and ordinary citizens merged into a powerful chorus demanding profound change. To truly understand the scale and significance of these events, one must immerse themselves in the atmosphere of the time, the restless energy of youth, the simmering frustrations of workers, the fear and confusion of the establishment, and the hope for a new future that seemed to flicker like a flame in the darkness. In the years leading up to 1968, France was experiencing rapid economic growth and modernization, often called the Trente Glorieuses or 30 Glorious Years. The country was rebuilding from the devastation of World War II, industries were booming, and consumer culture was expanding. Yet beneath this surface prosperity lay deep social tensions. The older generation, shaped by the war and conservative traditions, clung to hierarchical structures and rigid social norms. The younger generation, students and workers alike, felt increasingly alienated by a system that seemed to prioritize order over freedom, conformity over creativity, and authority over dialogue. The university system was a microcosm of these tensions. The Sorbonne and other institutions were bastions of tradition, with strict rules, outdated curricula, and little room for student participation. Students, inspired by new ideas from existentialist philosophy, Marxism, and the global wave of liberation movements, demanded reforms that went beyond education. They wanted a voice in shaping society, an end to authoritarianism, and a break from the oppressive structures that limited their potential. The spark that ignited the uprising came in March 1968 at the University of Paris at Nanterre, where students began protesting against class discrimination and authoritarian university policies. The administration's heavy-handed response, including police intervention, only fueled resentment. When the university was shut down, protests moved to the Sorbonne in the Latin Quarter, a neighborhood known for its bohemian spirit and intellectual vibrancy. On May 3, 1968, the situation reached a boiling point. Police, acting on orders from the university rector, stormed the Sorbonne courtyard to clear out protesting students. The confrontation was violent and chaotic, batons swung, tear gas filled the air, and hundreds of students were arrested. Among them were young men and women whose faces bore the marks of struggle and determination. The brutal police response galvanized the student body and the wider community. The streets of Paris soon filled with thousands of protesters who tore up cobblestones to build barricades, transforming the city into a battleground. The night of the barricades on May 10th and 11th became a defining moment. The clash between protesters and police was fierce and relentless. Flames from burning garbage bins lit the night, and the sound of shattering glass, shouted slogans, and police whistles echoed through the city. The barricades were more than just physical obstacles. They symbolized a collective refusal to accept the status quo. The protesters, many of them students but also workers and passers-by, stood united in defiance, their faces illuminated by firelight and hope. The movement quickly transcended the student protests. Workers across France, inspired by the courage of the youth and driven by their own grievances over wages and working conditions, joined the strike. By mid-May, over 10 million workers, two-thirds of the French workforce, were on strike. Factories, transportation networks, postal services, and media outlets ground to a halt. Workers occupied their workplaces, raised red flags, and formed councils to negotiate demands. This unprecedented alliance between students and workers created a powerful force that challenged the government's authority and disrupted everyday life. The government, led by President Charles de Gaulle and Prime Minister Georges Pompidou, was initially stunned by the scale of the unrest. De Gaulle briefly disappeared from public view, fueling rumors of a coup or resignation, which only heightened the sense of crisis. The administration vacillated between repression, sending police forces to disperse crowds, arrest activists, and impose curfews and concession, offering wage increases, promises of reform, and reopening universities. However, these measures failed to quell the revolutionary spirit that had taken hold. Women played a crucial and often overlooked role in the uprising. Feminists and activists linked the fight for political change with demands for gender equality and sexual liberation. Women organized protests, participated in barricades, and challenged not only the government but also entrenched patriarchal norms. Their voices added depth and breadth to the movement, expanding its goals beyond traditional political demands. Culturally, May 1968 sparked a renaissance. Artists, writers, and philosophers embraced the ideals of freedom and creativity, producing works that questioned authority and celebrated rebellion. The walls of Paris became canvases for graffiti and slogans, many witty and poetic, that captured the spirit of the times. Phrases like "Sous les paves," "La plage," "Beneath the cobblestones," "The beach," and "Be realistic," "Demand the impossible" became iconic expressions of hope and defiance. Internationally, the events in France resonated with other movements around the world. The spirit of May 68 echoed in anti-war protests in the United States, student uprisings in Mexico and Germany, and struggles for decolonization in Africa and Asia. It became a symbol of a global generation's demand for justice, freedom, and a new social order. Despite the revolutionary fervor, the movement was marked by contradictions and challenges. The alliance between students and workers was sometimes fragile, strained by differing priorities and visions. The government eventually regained control, and many of the movement's radical demands remained unfulfilled. Yet, the social and cultural transformations set in motion were irreversible. Universities became more democratic, labor rights expanded, and social attitudes shifted toward greater tolerance and individual freedom. Today, the legacy of May 1968 endures. Annual commemorations in Paris and around the world honor the courage and creativity of those who dared to dream and fight for change. The uprising reminds us that history is shaped not only by leaders but by ordinary people united in a common cause. It teaches that even the most entrenched systems can be challenged and that the pursuit of freedom and dignity is a continuous journey. This story of rebellion, hope, and transformation is a testament to the enduring power of collective action. It invites us to reflect on our own times and challenges, inspiring us to imagine and work toward a better future, just as the people of May 1968 did over half a century ago.